today was one of the days where if you didn't watch the game like Rich, because he's in London with the time change, you wake up and you look at the score and go, what in the heck happened last night? Ross Tucker was there calling the game on Westwood One with Iron Eagle. He joins us now live on the phone, home in Pennsylvania, or on the visual thing, whatever the thing you're on, Ross. Good day to you. What the hell happened last night?
Well, first of all, Andrew, I'm actually in West Point, New York.
Oh, that's right. You got another game.
Yeah, I'm calling Boston College. The only reason why I'm telling you that is because I don't think this background really looks like my house.
I can't tell, man. You're like in a tiny little box. I can't. Are you in a hotel? Where is that? What is that?
I'm at the Thayer Hotel, which is on the campus of the United States
Ross, you want to give that out too?
Academy.
Yeah.
Can't give you the room number. This isn't Kingpin, and I'm not Bill Murray, so I can't give you the room number. But no, I mean, nobody cares. But I literally drove 4 hours from DC up to West Point last night and slept for a couple hours and ready to go do it again tomorrow. It should be awesome. But you know what's funny, Andrew, about last night's game? I said this before the game started, right? Both these teams had devastating losses last Sunday. And it seems like there's really only two ways that you come back from that, right? You either the next game, it's like you're sluggish, you still have a hangover from that devastating defeat, or you're kind of mad and fired up and you want to get that taste out of your mouth and you come out flying around. Well, it was very clear, I thought, right from the jump, that the Chicago Bears, they were ready to go. They were angry about what happened against the Broncos, and they came out on fire. Meanwhile, the Commanders,
dead.
They were sleepwalking like the whole first half. So there's two ways you can go, and one team went one way, the other went the other way, and that's why it was 27-3 or whatever it was at halftime.
I get it. Normally, the home team there has the edge. And as devastating as as devastated as they were, I'm not suggesting they took the Eagles' loss as a moral victory. I generally got a good vibe from the people in Washington this past week, right? Like, hey, yeah, we could be 3-1, but like we know we got it, right? Maybe that's more of a fan base than an Ashburn feeling. I was just stunned at how dead they were, Ross. I mean, those were like 10-mile stares on the faces of Sam Howell and Chase Young in the first half, as if they didn't want to be there.
Well, and guys were wide open. And I can tell you, too, Andrew, from having played there twice, and I've done at least one primetime game there, I don't know, the last 8 years, 10 years. That was the most Commanders fans, Washington football fans, whatever, that I've seen at that stadium since like RG3. I mean, they're excited about the new ownership. They're excited about this team. They're pumped that they feel like they might have a quarterback. They've got a new owner, and the team just totally took the wind out of their sails last night with the way they played. Look, there's no way around it. It's a real bad look for Ron Rivera that his team came out as flat and as unprepared as they did. And conversely, Andrew, there was talk this week that the Bears might fire Eberflus if he lost the game, and his team came out and played like a team that likes their coach and doesn't want him to get fired.
And let's not forget, you've called games there. You are also, in another life, a Washington football legend with 6 games. 6, am I getting that right? In that uniform.
Yeah, I think I dressed for 4 my rookie year, and then maybe 6 my second year, something like that.
Pro Football Reference here, man. I'm just going with what I'm seeing here. Regardless, you have some great Steve Spurrier stories, which we've shared off the air as well. Maybe that's for another show. Flip to the Bears here. What do you make of their dilemma? And I say dilemma because Carolina is still winless and the Bears are still not good, and they still will have, we think, plenty of draft capital in the top 5. Their dilemma with Justin Fields, because the guy from the last 2 weeks is the guy that they hoped they were drafting. But they don't get that guy for a myriad of reasons every week.
Well, but they have gotten that guy the last 2 weeks,
correct,
right? And that's the most recent sample size. You know, I know we want to talk about these things now, and we should. They played last night. I totally get it. But the beauty of this is it's going to declare itself.
Yep.
And what I would argue, Andrew, is if at the end of the year it still hasn't declared itself one way or the other, then it has. You know what I mean? Like, if at the end of this year you're not saying Fields is the guy, we want him moving forward, maybe even give him a contract extension, then they probably will strongly consider drafting someone again. I would just say this, with the way he's played the last 2 games and with the physical ability that he possesses, and by all accounts, he's a very smart young man, I guess I just don't understand. I mean, if he keeps playing even close to this, I think it's tough to move on from that, because how do you know if you move on that you're not getting Zach Wilson, or you're not getting Trey Lance, or you're not getting, somebody that's worse than Justin Fields. So if he plays, like the way he played the last couple games, I think you feel good about that and you build on it and you use your pick and use Carolina's pick on making the team better around him, like they did with DJ Moore, who, by the way, made a gigantic difference last night, obviously.
Do you think he was in on that would-be 4th touchdown? Did you get a view on the sideline from where you were?
No, and I don't really understand that. Now, we didn't see him go out of bounds at all, and I'm more focused on the field than I am the monitors, just because of the setup there, and you've been there. FedEx Field, you're kind of in the corner, and I never saw him go out of bounds. The officials are right there, so typically on stuff like that, I give those guys the benefit of the doubt. I guess I'm a little surprised. I'm not sure, how it works, Andrew, or what happened in the game. Did you guys at home, did you ever get a really good or definitive angle? It's like I saw him running down the sideline, but I never saw the white of the sideline.
We never saw that down the line sideline angle. We never did. And from the TV, from the normal angle that you see on TV, the DB's coming over and the DB is blocking your standard view when DJ runs by. We never got the angle, and the conspiracy theorists online were saying, well, they don't want to show you the angle because they don't want to prove that it was an inadvertent whistle and prove that he really never stepped out of bounds. Kind of like Amari Cooper a couple of weeks ago against the Titans. He clearly was in bounds. They blew the whistle. They had the angle. Everyone and their uncle, Gene Steratore, can pipe in and say, awful call. That last night they were trying to avoid that. I do not subscribe to that. I don't think the craziness goes that far. The cover-up goes that far. The official said that he was out of bounds. So be it. But DJ thought he was clearly in bounds.
Yeah, you know what I think is crazy? That I don't know how much the TV guys, Alan Kirk, talked about this. I'm really surprised at the end of the game when it's 30-20 that on 3rd and 2 that the Bears threw the ball. I mean, first of all, that they threw it. And then secondly, Fuller had great coverage on DJ Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrew, that was close to a pick 6. That was like 3 inches from a pick 6. Like, I couldn't believe they threw it. And then I couldn't believe Fields tried to make that throw. And then, DJ Moore ends up going all the way down for a touchdown, and he's got the huge night for fantasy and setting Bears records. But, I mean, that was a gutsy call by Getsy, and I would argue a reckless throw by Fields to even attempt that in that situation with Fuller sitting on that route.
Well, think of the disaster that's possible there, Ross. You said it could have been a pick 6. Justin has a little bit of a long delivery. Okay. He also kind of stared it down even with a quick drop. I mean, that had all the makings of if it does go back pick 6. Here's why we don't like Justin Fields, right?
Yeah.
He stares the guy down. The ball doesn't come out nearly as quickly, whether mentally or physically, as it should come out. And then bam, it's a different ball game. But no, DJ Moore caught it. Went through Fuller's hands. DJ Moore can high step those last 10 yards, and then everyone is happy here today in Chicago. I know you always rate, and you, for those who don't follow Ross on social media, you should, the press box food. Ross, we also know, and we're being kind here, it's not a secret, they need a new stadium, that is the worst venue in the NFL right now. How was the FedEx press box food, Ross?
Well, this is really...
Oh, no, he froze.
Oh, no,
he froze.
There's a reflection.
We're back. Okay, good. We lost you there for a second.
There's no question. It's a reflection on the organization and ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And FedEx Field was definitely the worst in the league. And I am happy to report significant upgrades.
Oh, wow.
Significant upgrades. I liked the Caesar salad. It was fresh cut fruit.
Okay.
I like the chicken parm. It was grilled chicken parm, which was delicious. They even have like a side ice cream container with little pints of vanilla and chocolate ice cream.
Wow.
They had a candy table. It really bodes well for the Commanders organization moving forward. The upgrades they've made in the press box food, press box dining category. Oh, and by the way, I think Sam Howell's a good quarterback too.
Yeah, too. I thought Sam Howell is a good quarterback as well. Thought it before last night. Put up 388 yards, many of them in the second half. Many of them trying to rally his team back when they threw the ball 55 consecutive times. And literally 55 consecutive times, or 55 straight dropbacks. There were plenty of sacks in there as well. And I want people to understand that, Ross, you are grateful for the free food. You realize that, and we realize that as media members, we have the greatest job on earth to go to football games and get free food. You, however, have made it your calling to rate and to share the free food with everyone around America, as you always say, as I always say, rather. Listen, we are working hard for you, and we want to pull back the curtain so that fans can see what your life is like and what our lives are like.
Yeah, and I'm very clear about this. I'm never criticizing. I'm evaluating.
Yes.
There's a very big difference. I take my job as the world's foremost expert on NFL and college football press box food spreads very seriously. And so I'm never criticizing. I'm just evaluating. It's like I'm calling the game. I'm calling it the way I see it with the press box food.
And I think my favorite, not meal overall, but my favorite press box food item or experience is US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, where they often have at halftime a s'mores station.
Whoa.
They have the fire or the butane and everything, and then they have the chocolate and the graham cracker and the marshmallow, and you make it a s'mores station at halftime. Ross, what is your favorite?
My favorite single item, well, there's two halftime items I love. When I'm at Green Bay, I have 2 brats in 7 minutes. Not many mere mortals can do that.
That's impressive.
And then when I'm in Tampa Bay has Bananas Foster.
Ooh.
And I was there for the playoff game, Brady against Matthew Stafford a couple years ago. And I think members of the media are only supposed to have 1 Bananas Foster at halftime, 1 serving. When I went up the second time, the guy kind of gave me a look. When I went up the third time, he looked at me real weird. When I went up the fourth time, he just totally gave up and didn't say anything whatsoever. I don't think anybody's ever done that before, but I didn't see any signs. You know, if you're not going to tell me that it's only 1, I'm a rule follower. I've heard you're only supposed to get 1. But nobody told me that. I had 4 Bananas Fosters at halftime before Brady had that comeback. It was delicious.
It's one of the reasons Brady was able to make that comeback. He obviously had the Banana Foster's energy from you upstairs. Before we let you go, real quick, there are other games here, Week 5. I brought you on by saying Pennsylvania guy. The Eagles are here in L.A. Obviously, plenty of Eagles fans will be at SoFi Stadium to see, as you and I are talking here, Sean McVay announces Cooper Kupp on the field. Cooper Kupp will be on the field and active for the Rams in his first action of 2020, or 2023, I beg your pardon. Joe Noteboom, probably not. And Joe Noteboom. Alaric Jackson, probably not at left tackle. Anyway, Eagles, Rams, Ross, your thoughts?
Well, that's huge that they're going to have Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Because you can argue the most influx position right now for the Eagles is the nickel corner, right? They lost Devontae Maddox for the season. They signed Bradley Roby this week. They've been putting Bradbury in there a little bit. So whether it's Tutu Atwell or Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp, they're going to attack whoever the Eagles have playing nickel corner. I mean, that's going to be the hot spot. The other thing, it's funny, Andrew, and you'll appreciate this. I am so impressed by the Rams coaching staff. I asked 10 people this week, 10, if they could name a single defensive player for the Rams other than Aaron Donald. 0 for 10. Not one person I talked to,
Ross,
can name a defensive player for the Rams other than Aaron Donald, and yet their defense is playing their you-know-what's all.
It's funny you say that, because for those who don't know, and I don't know why anybody would know, but many, many years ago, Ross and I had a preseason together. I've done the Rams for 13 years. During the summer, Ross was in our booth, and he was great, obviously, back in St. Louis one year. years ago. I did the same thing this summer, Ross. I would give people the second. I would say, I'll give you Aaron Donald and Ernest Jones, because I think he's a good player, ascending player, young player, middle linebacker. I will give you those two. Now name somebody else. Nobody could name another player. Kobe Durant, I think some people should name, right? John Johnson III is back, but he's never getting on the field. I mean, he's basically, he's not a healthy scratch, but he's out there. He's really only playing teams, and that defense has played well. I think the big thing here, and I want to clarify, Joe Noteboom is out. Alaric Jackson should play at left tackle. My big thing is, can the Eagles just run it down their throats? And, do they just kill them in the run game?
Well, what's so interesting is, there's a lot of consternation in Philadelphia because they don't look quite as good as they did last year when they were rolling people. I mean, they're still 4-0. I mean, they're one of two undefeated teams. But last year, it seemed like they had the run game and the pass game going almost every game, Andrew. This year, it's like if the defense takes away the run, then like last week, then they can throw it. If the defense takes away the pass, then they will run it down your throat. But they haven't really gotten both clicking at the same time. I'm also really curious to see the Eagles' defensive line, the depth they have, although it sounds like Fletcher Cox might not play, the depth they have is really, really impressive. Imagine this, Andrew. Imagine every game you play, every time you take the field, at the start of the game, you have the better O-line and D-line. That's the Eagles in pretty much every game they play. It's like they start every game on third base. You know that expression? Mm-hmm. That's the way it is in pro football if you have the better O-line and D-line. And a lot of times it's the much better O-line and D-line. And usually over the course of 4 quarters, that plays itself out.
Yeah. Rams O-line has gone through a lot of shuffling in the offseason and had to shuffle again when on Monday night in Cincinnati, they lost Alaric Jackson. They didn't move Joe Noteboom to left tackle. They did put Noteboom finally at left tackle last week against Indianapolis and had some success, but that was the biggest issue for them last year. They couldn't keep Matthew Stafford upright, and they had 12 different O-line combinations the first 12 weeks of last year, all because of injuries. And they had firmly believed all summer that if they could find the right combination, lock it in, and keep Stafford upright, that the offense would be okay. And for the most part, they have been validated through 4 weeks. The record's 2-2. It is what it is. This one is huge, certainly, for the Rams. Ross Tucker have a great call in West Point. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I love it. I love it here. I mean, the parachute jumpers, the helicopters when they come out of the tunnel, and they got a Power 5 team here. Boston College, Army, noon tomorrow. CBS Sports Network should be fun.
All right, we'll be watching. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Ross, as always, sir.
Thank you, you too. All right.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.